Sometimes, the storm you are fighting so hard to escape your broken bar is the very storm building the strength you once prayed for. There are moments in life when everything feels heavy, like the air itself has grown thick with pain, like the silence is louder than any scream. Maybe you've been there, maybe you're there now. That silent ache, the one no one sees, lives behind your eyes. You smile so the world doesn't ask questions, but inside, you're barely holding it together. This message is for you, because no matter how broken, how forgotten, how exhausted you feel, you are not finished yet. There is something in you silent, ancient, unbreakably that no pain, no failure, no storm can destroy. And it begins with one invisible force: your thoughts. Your thoughts shape your reality. There are invisible forces that shape the course of your life, not fate, not luck, not what others say or do. The greatest of these forces is your own thought. What you repeatedly allow into your mind begins to define how you see yourself, how you see the world, and what kind of life you believe is possible. Your thoughts are the architects of your inner world, and your inner world, in time, becomes your reality. People often look at their circumstances and say, "This is just the way life is." But that statement itself is not fact, it is a thought. And that thought, when accepted without resistance, becomes a silent command to the soul. Do not rise, do not fight, do not dream. Your circumstances matter, yes, but how you think about them matters more. A difficult life with strong thoughts becomes a foundation for greatness. An easy life with weak thoughts becomes a prison of potential never realized. Your thoughts are not passive observers, they are builders. Every moment, they are laying bricks, constructing the walls, the windows, the ceilings of your internal reality. If your thoughts are built on fear, then even success will feel unsafe. If your thoughts are built on self-doubt, then even when you are winning, you'll still feel like you're losing. If your thoughts are built on gratitude and resilience, then even in the middle of the storm, you'll find a way to keep walking. The mind does not wait for permission to shape your destiny. It begins forming your life in the smallest whispers, the quiet moments no one says when you're alone, tired, overwhelmed. That's when it counts. That's when your thoughts reveal what they're truly made of. And that's when you must choose. Will you let your thoughts lead you to strength, or will you let them drag you deeper into defeat? Some will say, "I can't help how I think," but that's not truth, it's a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. Yes, some thoughts come uninvited or born from trauma, pain, fear. But just because a thought knocks doesn't mean you have to let it stay. The mind can be trained, it can be directed, but only by those who have made the decision to reclaim their inner power. You don't become strong by chance, you become strong by choice, and that choice starts in the mind. Think about this: if a person tells themselves every day, "I'm not good enough," how will they act? How will they walk into rooms? How will they pursue opportunities? Will they take risks, or avoid them? Will they see themselves as worthy of joy, or always second-guess their place in the world? Now imagine that same person telling themselves, every single day, "I have something to offer. I am learning, I am growing, I am not defined by the worst thing that's happened to me." What kind of life will they build from those thoughts? The difference between those two people is not intelligence, it's not skill, it's not even luck, it's thought. That's why it's said that the greatest freedom in this life is the ability to choose your response. When everything else is stripped away, when the world is falling apart, when people walk away, when plans fail, the one thing you still own is the space between stimulus and response. In that space is your power to think, to choose, to redirect your inner dialogue. This doesn't mean you never feel fear. This doesn't mean you avoid sadness or pretend everything is okay. That would be a lie. Life will break your heart sometimes. You will feel lost. You will feel small. But positive thinking is not about denying reality. It's about refusing to let temporary emotions become permanent beliefs. If you've failed, the thought "I'm a failure" will come. That's natural. But whether you believe it, that is your decision. You can say instead, "I failed, but I am not finished." That thought creates movement. That thought turns the page. That thought builds momentum. And from momentum, transformation begins. The mind is like a lens. If you smudge it with fear, everything you see will feel distorted, threatening, impossible. But if you clean the lens with clarity, courage, and truth, the world changes, not because the world has changed, But because you have, your perception is not neutral. It is powerful. It either lifts you or locks you in place. This is why two people can experience the same situation and walk away with two different lives. One sees the loss as an ending. The other sees it as a beginning. One sees the betrayal as proof they are unlovable. The other sees it as redirection, a chance to become stronger, wiser, more intentional with who they trust. The event is the same. The thought is what makes it different. If you do not master your mind will master you. And an undisciplined mind is dangerous, and not just to you, but to everyone around you. It speaks in blame. It drowns in self-pity. It sabotages opportunity. It makes peace impossible, even when circumstances are perfect. Because peace is not found in a perfect life. It is found in a trained mind. Your thoughts also become your words, and your words become your reality. The way you talk to yourself matters. The way you speak in silence matters. Do you curse yourself in your own mind? Do you say things to yourself that you would never say to someone you love? Change it. You don't need to lie to yourself. You don't need to say I'm amazing when you feel weak, but you can say, I'm growing. I'm not done. I have more in me. That small shift opens the door for progress. And that's what this is really about, not perfection, but progress. One powerful thought at a time. Your thoughts also influence how you handle others. A person who believes the world is against them will see enemies everywhere. They will create conflict where none exists. But someone who believes the world can be understood, even when it's hard, will approach life with curiosity instead of judgment. They will ask, what is this teaching me? Instead of why is this happening to me? This shift is not small, it is revolutionary. Because once you realize your thoughts shape your experience, you no longer wait for circumstances to change before you start living fully. You stop waiting for people to act right. You stop waiting for apologies. You stop waiting for everything to be fair. And instead, you choose to build your life from the inside out. You start feeding your mind like you would your body, intentionally, carefully. You consume thoughts that strengthen your core, not thoughts that feed the fear. You stop entertaining inner dialogue that tells you you're not enough. You stop rehearsing old failures like they define you. You begin, instead, to think thoughts that align with your highest self. Thoughts that say, I can begin again. This is hard, but I can handle hard things. I don't need to have all the answers, I just need to take the next right step. I have survived before. I will rise again. These are not just words. They are weapons. They are shields. They are seeds that, over time, become the habits, the moods, the tone of your life. And yes, you will fall back into negative patterns from time to time. That is part of being human. But the difference between someone who rises and someone who stays stuck is not that they never fire, it's that they catch themselves faster. They notice the thought that doesn't belong, and they don't let it take root. They don't water it. They don't feed it. They replace it. Your thoughts shape your emotional landscape. They decide whether your mind is a garden or a graveyard, whether your heart is open or armored, whether your life moves with purpose or drifts in confusion. Every time you think, you cast a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. And the most beautiful part of all this is that the choice is yours. No one can steal your power to think intentionally. They can take your time, your money, your relationships, your comfort, but not your inner world. That belongs to you. Always. Even in the darkest moments, when the winds howl and everything feels uncertain, there is one constant: your ability to choose your next thought. And with that thought, you begin again. Discipline over emotion. There comes a time in every person's life when emotion alone is not enough, when motivation fades, when the fire inside dies down, when the rush of inspiration disappears, and all that's left is the choice to continue or to quit. It is in that quiet, brutal moment where the real battle begins, because emotion may start the journey, but only discipline finishes it. Emotion is powerful. Yes, it can move mountains. It can ignite passion. It can carry you through the first few miles of a hard path. But emotion is fleeting. It is temporary. It changes with the weather, the hour, the opinions of others. Discipline, on the other hand, is unmoved. It is consistent. It does not care how you feel it moves forward anyway. A person who lives by emotion alone is at the mercy of circumstance. They rise and fall with every success and setback. When things go well, they soar. When things collapse, they fall apart. They're driven by how they feel in the moment, which makes their path unstable, inconsistent, unpredictable. But a person who lives by discipline has built something stronger than motivation. They've built structure, they've built foundation, they've built an inner code that doesn't bend just because the mood changes. The truth is simple and unforgiving. If you only work when you feel like it, you will never become great. You will never master anything, because mastery requires repetition. Mastery requires practice when no one is watching. Mastery demands that you show up even when the thrill is gone. Emotion may tell you to wait until you're ready. Discipline tells you that ready is a lie. You begin, not when it's easy, but when it's time. And it's always time when you've made a commitment. To choose discipline over emotion is to lead yourself, not follow your feelings. It is to wake up tired, and still move your feet. It is to feel fear, and still speak with courage. It is to feel defeated, and still rise again. This is not because you deny your feelings, but because you refuse to let them decide the outcome of your life. Feelings will whisper to you, rest today, skip the hard conversation, avoid the risk. Discipline answers, but I made a promise, and that promise is worth more than comfort. There is something noble about keeping a vow to yourself, even when no one else would notice if you broke it, because that's when character is revealed, not when the lights are on, not when the world applauds, but when it's just you and the decision you must make, the quiet choice to show up, to persist, to stay steady when everything inside is screaming for escape. That's strength. That's discipline. This discipline is not cold or harsh, it's sacred. It's the highest form of self-respect, because it says, I will not be ruled by impulse. I will not be led by the emotions of the moment. I am something deeper than that. I am my word. I am my commitment. I am my actions. Repeated, regardless of how I feel today. Those who master discipline learn something that those led by emotion never understand, that success is not built in the dramatic moments. It is built in the boring ones, the early mornings, the silent repetitions, the lonely practices, the uncelebrated choices. Emotion seeks highs, discipline seeks results, and results are rarely glamorous. Emotion will beg you for comfort. It will convince you to take the easy path. It will give you 1,000 reasons to delay, to avoid, to escape. But discipline doesn't entertain those reasons. It recognizes the pain, but it does not surrender to it. It acknowledges the fear, but it walks forward anyway, because discipline knows that feelings are passengers and not the driver. This doesn't mean you silence your emotions. It means you place them where they belong and not at the wheel, but in the backseat. You listen, you learn, but you do not obey every impulse. Discipline is the decision to say, my goals matter more than my moods. And make no mistake here, your emotions are not always your allies. They often lie. They often exaggerate. They speak from wounds, not wisdom. They rise out of insecurity, not truth. Discipline is what helps you pause, think, examine, and respond. It is what separates action from reaction. A disciplined mind creates a disciplined life. It plans even when it's uninspired. It prepares even when it's inconvenient. It does what must be done, not out of excitement, but out of integrity. This is the mark of the strongest among us, not those who are fearless, but those who act with discipline in the presence of fear. Consider the warrior who goes into battle not because he feels brave every time, but because he has trained for this moment. He has drilled, practiced, bled, fallen, risen again. He does not wait to feel invincibly. He moves with clarity, because he has made a decision long ago, to stand, to serve, to act. That is discipline, and that is what builds lives of substance. You will not always be motivated. You will not always feel driven. And if you wait for the fire to return before you act, you may never act again. But if you chose to continue through doubt, through exhaustion, through boredom, then you will find that the fire returns to those who keep walking even in the dark. Discipline brings freedom. It seems like a paradox, but it's true. The more disciplined you are, the more free you become. Free from regret, free from chaos, free from the roller coaster of emotional extremes. Because discipline builds structure, and structure creates stability. With stability, you make better decisions, you protect your future, you guard your peace. It takes discipline to be kind when anger is easier. It takes discipline to stay calm when you feel disrespected. It takes discipline to keep your word when it no longer benefits you. This kind of strength is invisible to most, but it is everything. It is the difference between a reaction and a response, between collapse and composure. To live with discipline is to treat your emotions like weather. They pass. Some days are storms, some days are clear skies. But you do not rebuild your entire life just because it's raining today. You stay anchored, you let the storm come, and you stay rooted in who you are. Discipline is that root, and it is built, not born. No one is born with perfect control. You build it, decision by decision. The first time you choose to act without waiting for the mood. The second time you keep your word when it's inconvenient. The 100th time you do what you said you would, even when no one is watching. That is how discipline is formed, either through repetition, not emotion. People admire discipline from the outside, but few are willing to pay its price, because it costs you something. It costs you comfort. It costs you excuses. It costs you temporary pleasure. But what you gain is far greater: self-respect, confidence, peace, direction, a life that is built, not drifted into. You cannot lead others if you cannot lead yourself, and you cannot lead yourself if every decision depends on how you feel. Discipline is self-leadership. It is the quiet voice that says, "We continue," not because it's fun, not because it's easy, but because it's right, and because you decided to be someone who finishes what they start, even when you fail, and you will. Discipline is what gets you back up. Emotion will shame you, tell you to quit, tell you it's over, but discipline speaks quietly: stand again. And that one small choice here to stand again builds a momentum more powerful than any burst of emotion ever could. There is no breakthrough without resistance, no growth without discomfort, no transformation without discipline. Emotions will come and go, but what you repeatedly do, what you train on, becomes who you are. And when discipline becomes your default, you don't just chase greatness, you become it. There is a fire in you. You may not feel it now, but it is there. Maybe it's dim, maybe it's buried under years of loss, betrayal, failure, but it's there, and it can be reignited. All it takes is one thought, one decision, one inner yes that says, "I am not my past. I am not my pain. I am the builder of my future. I am the master of my emotions. I am the guardian of my thoughts." When you truly believe these, when your thoughts are aligned with purpose instead of fear, your life will begin to rise. People will ask you how you changed. They'll say you seem more powerful, more peaceful, more present. You won't need to explain, because true positive thinking doesn't need to speak. It radiates. It's felt. Let me end with this. The most powerful person in any room is not the loudest, not the richest, not the most talented. It is the one who controls their mind, and that can be you. Not tomorrow, not someday,